Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and more Birthright coverage here as we work our way to the last of the realm coverage for the Voss territories and kind of wrapping up the series. We'll have some more odds and ends videos for the Voss, but this will be the last of the realms. So today we're taking a look at Tuar Annwn, the heart of the Gravnikvek forest. So in there somewhere lies Tuar Annwn. We've seen it on the map before. It is a dark heart indeed. More than any of the other elf realms, it remains at war with the world. In other lands, the elves may have forgotten or banned the hunt of the elves, the Gale Sidhe. But even in southern Mosgard, in Cumbain, the war between elves and humans seems to have ended, but not in Tuar Annwn, never in Tuar Annwn. So, according to elven lore, Tuar Annwn was the least and last born of the elf realms. Settled in the harsh Northlands to watch over the humanoids of the region, it was barely settled before the beginning of the elf-humanoid wars. It benefited only a little from the dwarf-elf peace accords. Even when other humanoids hid themselves from the powerful elf lords, the ice goblins, aurochs, trolls, and others in northern Cerulia continued to fight against the smallest elven realm. It never knew the long peace of other elf realms, and just when it felt like it had driven back the humanoids once and for all, then the humans actually arrived, and then later the hunt began. So it's a small realm far removed from Aduria, and it was influenced little by Azrai and the War of the Shadow, about as far away as you can get actually from that with the map that we have. But it maintained contact with Cumbain at that time, and many elves from Gravnikvek marched to Deismar under the Elven King's banner. Few returned, and those who survived found the southern lands more hospitable, and the remainder made their way home, bitter at the realm's tremendous loss. Wars between the Voss and the elves started almost immediately. The most powerful Voss realms hewed and burned their way north, fighting the elves of Tuar Annwn with ever-renewing vigor. The elves lost heart quickly. Their most noted warriors had gone to Deismar and not returned. So it gained its name then. It became the Land of Silence and has remained so ever since, so very ominous. Elsewhere in this book, the story is told how the elves of Tuar Annwn, apparently defeated by Velinoye, faced extinction but somehow repelled and destroyed their enemies. Here, we reveal that great secret finally. So Tuar Annwn, alone of Cerulean realms, exists in two worlds, both on Ebrenis and on the Shadow World. Somehow, in their desperation to survive, the wizards called upon and harnessed the power of the Shadow World. During the battle with the Voss, however, they lost control of their spells, and the heart of the Gravnikvek forest now lies somewhere between the two planes, so which explains all the weirdness and the sort of bits and pieces we've gotten about the story so far. So fast forward to modern-day Tuar Annwn. So this situation has had a devastating effect. While making the realm virtually impervious to attack, only characters with the ability to see into the Shadow World can even cross the borders without being turned back or becoming hopelessly lost. The shadowed nature of Tuar Annwn has closed the realm from the rest of Cerulia. Those who leave there may never be able to return home again. The elves of Tuar Annwn have been changed by this experience as well, so they're still immortal as far as age and disease go. They appear somewhat wasted and gaunt, though, almost as if their energies were being leached out of them. Possibly the elves can feed vampirically on the energies of others, so that'd be kind of frightening, right? That's merely an unsubstantiated legend known to a very few. But that'd be a good way to maybe leak that out to the characters in some way over the course of a campaign if they're determined to get into the realm somehow. So especially if there's a halfling in the party, that might be an easy way to start making some connections there. In truth, probably only a handful of people alive in Cerulia have any idea what has happened to Tuar Annwn. Even halflings who ventured near there can't fully perceive the shadowed effect on the land. Only those intimately familiar with the Shadow World can hope to understand the devastation. So, the provinces. So, since only a few elves of Tuar Annwn have or ever leave the Shadowed Realm, and fewer still will talk about their homeland, little is known of the provinces and holdings of the Elf Realm. The Court of Wizards is still believed to rule and maintain Tuar Annwn through a series of high-powered source holdings. There's no trade within the realm, and certainly not without, and it is thought that the depleted energies of the elves leave little interest in law or government. Still, an elf king could exist within Tuar Annwn, and one probably does. He simply doesn't affect the lands outside of his own. They've got other things to worry about. So there are some interesting sites. So entering Tuar Annwn is the most dangerous thing a hero of Cerulia could conceivably do without awakening the Gorgon from a night's sleep. So that's, setting the bar high here. Still, a few hardy souls have entered Tuar Annwn and have brought back tales of those adventures. So the first one, which is kind of random, we get some kind of creepy art here as well. So the Anwalach, the Lake of Silence, was once a clear blue waterway used by the elves when traveling north to the sea. The elves once ruled the forests of the Knoll Fells and the Ice March in addition to their current lands, and used the river from Anwalach as a major thoroughfare through that larger realm. Now the lake and river are brackish and still as foreboding as the woods that grow against the shore. Some say the waters of the Anwalach have magical powers. Legends tell that drinking from or bathing in the Anwalach will drain a person of strength and energy, but an elf who does the same will actually find themselves rejuvenated and fresh. Legends further tell that the elves of Tuar Annwn must bathe and drink from there often or waste away to nothing, becoming unmoving husks barely alive but unable to die. The only basis for this legend is Voss superstition, but probably some kernels of truth there, and that could be something interesting to apply as like hints and rumors. But then maybe the PCs do actually experience this. Maybe there's an elf or half elf in the party, and maybe that does have some sort of effect on them, but also could make for fun and sort of creating this like these for the actual elves of the realm, like it's kind of like elvish vampire type situation where they have to feed on energy and stuff like that. So whole new realm of possibilities there, and obviously for whatever happens in the shadow world, there's so much more to explore with that. And then finally, the last little section here, again, this is just a smaller realm entry. DM's tips and secrets. So for centuries, Cerulean adventurers have avoided the realm or paid the ultimate price. In recent years, the dark heart of Grovnikvek seems to be growing. Tendrils of magic and shadow are reaching out beyond the elven realm. Before long, someone will need to stop them. So, centuries have passed since the elves have interacted with the outside world, but that watchful peace is at an end. Observers report that whatever shadow possessed Tuar Annwn in the past is actually growing beyond the realm's borders. According to the humanoids of the Knoll Fells, Tuar Annwn's wizards have begun corrupting the southeastern province in the Fells, and the humanoids have found no way to fight back. The Orogs of the Swordrust tribes have had trouble with Ferosk Slektra. Again, we know about that individual, and many believe she comes from Tuar Annwn. Add to this the general corruption of the unsettled Battlefells to the northeast. Again, we've covered those entries separately, and the land of the dead becomes an expanding problem. Some say this is only the beginning and that the shadow world may be growing into Cerulia and other places, but no one knows what to do about it. And that could be one, too, where, again, just tying things more into the shadow world. There's the rumor that, like, some form or remnant of Azrai actually resides in the shadow world. There's more that we'll cover on that and other entries down the road, but there's just so many little interesting things that we could be weaving together with that. And then, if this were to spread, right, maybe this starts affecting other realms, and then it's just, there's a larger issue at stake here. So this could, morph its way into so just like a local adventure, smaller campaign. This could, develop into something that not just threatens the region, but perhaps, if left unchecked, could severely threaten everything, right? And there could be other encroachments by the shadow world as well. So just a fun last little realm to explore, right? There's just a great mystery here with with enough care, the DM really could work this into something pretty interesting and special and unique, really. And just another one of the great things of Birthright here, where we can just have so many different things going on. And then we have the different racial interactions going on here. So right, the elves versus basically everybody else, but then we have the normal world and the shadow world. The halflings fit in here in a certain way, right, with their connection to the shadow world, and then just everything else that is Birthright going on with this. So really interesting stuff, guys. Let us know how you've incorporated Tuar Annwn, if at all, into your campaign. You can certainly take some of the ideas of a realm like this and import it into other settings as well, even your like homebrews. So hit us up in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll have more for you soon.